Such is the mind of those who watch the world celebrate while feeling nothing. You see them everywhere on December 31st, sitting alone while notifications explode, scrolling through stories of champagne and countdown clocks. And inside there's this strange emptiness. Not sadness exactly, not anger, just disconnection. Like watching life through soundproof glass. They tell themselves it doesn't matter. It's just another night. Just an arbitrary date on a calendar invented by people who needed something to believe in. And they're right, aren't they? It is arbitrary. But that's not why they feel this way. The truth cuts deeper. Because while everyone else transforms midnight into meaning, they sit with a question they've asked themselves 1,000 times. Why can't I feel what they feel? And beneath that question lives another, more terrifying one. What's wrong with me? Such is the mind that learned long ago that hope is dangerous. The pattern reveals itself in small moments. A friend texts, "New year, new me," and something inside them recoils. Not from cruelty, from recognition, because they've heard this before. They've been this before. The promises made at midnight that dissolve by February. The resolutions that become regrets. The hope that curdles into shame. So they stopped participating. They learned to smile and nod when people talk about fresh starts. They learned to say "sounds great" when invited to parties they'll never attend. They learned the performance of enthusiasm while feeling nothing underneath. And here's what nobody tells you. This detachment isn't weakness. It's protection. Viktor Frankl observed that humans can endure almost any suffering if they believe it has meaning. But what happens to the mind that stopped believing in meaning? What happens when you've watched too many midnights pass into ordinary mornings? When you've made too many promises to yourself that you broke? You build walls. Not consciously, not deliberately, but the psyche protects itself. It stops investing in moments that might disappoint. It stops hoping for transformations that never come. And eventually it stops feeling much of anything at all. Such is the mind that equates numbness with safety. The others don't understand. They say, "You're just being negative," or "You need to try harder to have fun," as if effort could manufacture joy, as if enthusiasm were a choice you're simply refusing to make. But they don't see what you see. They don't carry what you carry. The origins run deeper than December. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, that part of ourselves we've rejected and hidden, the parts too painful to acknowledge, too shameful to integrate. And for many who feel nothing on New Year's Eve, the shadow isn't just personal. It's temporal. It's every previous year that didn't deliver. Every promise you made and broke. Every person you were supposed to become but didn't. Every midnight that was supposed to change everything and changed nothing. The child psychologist Donald Winnicott introduced the concept of the false self, the adaptive persona we create to survive environments that don't accept our true nature. And many learned early that their authentic disappointment, their genuine skepticism, their real feelings about cycles and celebrations were unwelcome. So they learned to perform. I'm excited when they felt dread. New year, new possibilities. When they felt trapped in repetition. And year after year, the gap between what they showed and what they felt grew wider. Until one day they couldn't access the feeling at all. Freud called this repression, the unconscious burial of unbearable truths. But the buried doesn't disappear. It transforms. Joy becomes numbness. Hope becomes cynicism. Connection becomes isolation. And the person sitting alone on December 31st isn't choosing disconnection. They're protecting a wound so old they've forgotten it's there. Such is the mind that forgot how to feel because feeling once hurt too much. And here's the mechanism nobody explains. Repetition compulsion. Freud's observation that humans unconsciously repeat painful patterns not despite the pain but because of it. The familiar, even when destructive, feels safer than the unknown. You've proven to yourself that New Year's Eve means nothing. You have evidence. Years of evidence. Decades, maybe. So each December 31st becomes another data point confirming what you already know. Change is illusion. Hope is naive. Celebration is performance. And you're right. Partly. But here's what the mind does with being right. It stops looking for exceptions. It stops testing the theory. It builds an identity around the wound and calls it wisdom. I'm just realistic, you say. I'm just seeing things clearly. And perhaps you are. But clarity and imprisonment can coexist. You can be correct about the arbitrariness of calendar dates while being completely trapped by that correctness. The philosopher Kierkegaard wrote about the sickness unto death, a despair so profound it doesn't even recognize itself as despair. It masquerades as intelligence, as sophistication, as seeing through the illusions that comfort simpler minds. But it's still despair. And the cruelest part? You do it to yourself. Each year you fulfill your own prophecy. You ensure that nothing changes because you've already decided nothing can. You reject the celebration before it rejects you. You abandon hope before hope abandons you. Such is the mind that became its own prison guard. But something shifts when you stop resisting what is. Not acceptance in the passive sense, not surrender, but recognition. The simple, brutal acknowledgement. I am someone who doesn't feel joy on New Year's Eve. And that's what's true right now. No story about why, no justification, no defense, just the fact. Jiddu Krishnamurti taught that the observer is the observed, that the person watching their numbness and the numbness itself are not separate. You are not broken for feeling this way. You are having a human experience of disconnection, and that experience is as valid as any other. When you stop fighting what you feel, something unexpected happens. The emptiness doesn't disappear, but it stops defining you, because you're no longer using all your energy to pretend it isn't there. Neuropsychologist Rick Hansen explains that the brain has a negativity bias, holding on to painful experiences more than positive ones. Your mind isn't defective for remembering every disappointing January 1st. It's doing exactly what evolution designed it to do: protect you from repeated harm. But here's the insight that changes everything. Protection and prison use the same walls. The same mechanism that shields you from disappointment also blocks you from possibility. Not the naive possibility of everything will be different this time, but the quiet possibility of maybe I can be gentle with myself while nothing changes. Such is the mind that discovers that freedom and feeling are not the same thing. Integration doesn't mean fixing yourself. It means standing in the full truth of your experience. The part that feels nothing and the part that wishes it felt something. The part that knows hope is dangerous and the part that grieves the loss of it. The part that's certain you're right and the part that wonders what you might be missing. James Hollis, Jungian analyst, wrote that the second half of life is not about becoming who you're supposed to be. It's about becoming who you actually are. And for some, that means acknowledging, I am someone who experiences celebration as exile, who witnesses joy from outside, who carries a relationship with time that others don't understand. This isn't failure, it's honesty. You don't have to force yourself to care about New Year's Eve. You don't have to manufacture enthusiasm or fake transformation. You can simply be with what is. The disconnection, the emptiness, the strange grief of watching others feel what you can't access. And in that simple being, something remarkable happens. Not happiness, not sudden joy, but a kind of dignity, a refusal to abandon yourself by pretending to be someone you're not. The existentialist philosophers understood this. Camus wrote about Sisyphus pushing his boulder up the mountain only to watch it roll down again, forever. And in that absurd repetition, Camus found something unexpected: freedom. Not freedom from the boulder, freedom in the choosing to push it anyway. Your boulder is December 31st. It comes. You feel nothing. It passes. It comes again. And you can choose to stop fighting that reality, to stop making it mean something is wrong with you, to stop waiting for the year when you'll finally feel differently. Understanding doesn't erase pain, but it does redistribute the weight. You are not broken for feeling this way. You are not missing some essential piece of humanity. You are carrying a particular kind of awareness that makes celebration feel like exile and transformation feel like delusion. And that awareness has a cost. It isolates you. It separates you from the collective joy, the shared hope, the communal belief that midnight can mean something. But it also gives you something others don't have: clarity about the nature of time, about the difference between change and the fantasy of change, about the courage it takes to face another year without the comfort of illusions. Nietzsche spoke of amor fati, love of fate. Not passive acceptance, but fierce embrace of what is exactly as it is, including the parts that hurt, including the disconnection, including the nights you spend alone while the world celebrates what you can't feel. Such is the mind that stops asking to be different and starts asking what this difference might teach. You don't have to love New Year's Eve. You don't have to feel what others feel. You don't have to transform when the clock strikes 12. You just have to be honest about what's true. And in that honesty, there's a kind of freedom. Not the freedom to feel differently, but the freedom to stop pretending, to stop fighting, to stop waiting for the year you'll finally be like everyone else. Because you won't be. And that's not a problem to solve. Such is the mind of those who learn that the deepest change isn't in the calendar. It's in the willingness to witness yourself exactly as you are, without the need to fix or transform or celebrate what doesn't deserve celebration. The champagne will pop, the fireworks will explode, the resolutions will be made and broken, and you'll be there feeling nothing, carrying the weight of a consciousness that sees through the performance. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough.